So this video is on cumulative frequency, and these are graphs. So first we're going to run through what it is, how to do it, and then we're going to look at 2 exam questions. So first thing to think of is the word, how to remember this, and I look at the word cumulative and it's a bit like the word accumulate. And if you accumulate things, you kind of like add them up, you're a bit of a hoarder. So that's a really useful thing to remember, and you'll see why in a bit. So why do we use cumulative frequency graphs? And they're really useful for estimating the median, the quartiles, and the interquartile range. So we will also see an example of how to do that when we look at the questions. So first thing I'm going to do is run down the steps that you should do if you're asked to draw a cumulative frequency graph. So here is the first point, and it says add a cumulative frequency column to your table. So we'll give you a table of data, and then you need to add this cumulative frequency column, which is a column where you just keep adding things up. So we'll see that nicely in an example. Point 2 is plot at endpoint in each section. Again, that will become a lot easier when we put that to an example. Point 3 is the fact you start your graph from 0, and then point 4 is just join up the points you've plotted. So we will do all of those, we will run through all of those steps when we do the example, but when we've drawn it, there are useful things we can do. And these are getting the values, median, quartiles, and interquartile range, and also you can estimate numbers more or less than a value. So let's look at our first example and see all of this stuff in use. So here's our first example. The frequency table shows the weight in kilograms of some cats. So we have the weight and the frequency. So there were 8 cats weighing between 0 and 1 kilogram. There were 19 cats weighing between 3 and 4 kilograms. That type of thing. B, complete the cumulative frequency table. So this is basically doing the step 1 for us. So step 1 was add a cumulative frequency column. So this, if it didn't ask you to do it the way it has here and sort of force you to do it, you would add a column here and call it cumulative frequency and then do what we do here. So cumulative frequency means you keep adding things, you accumulate things, you add them up. So the first frequency we have is 8. And then the second frequency, so this is when it's a bit different, is there are 10, but you've already got 8, and we keep adding, so you do 8 plus 10. So that is 18. So the cumulative frequency for that one is actually 18. Then, for the third one down, it has 21, but you're adding that 21 to the previous, so you do 18 plus 21, because you keep adding things, and that gives you 39. And then you're going to have 19 plus 39, because we keep adding and accumulating things, which is going to be over 58. Then you're going to have 13 plus 58, 71, and then you're going to have 9 plus the 71 already there, which gives you 80. So this number you get at the bottom gives you the total number of cats that were weighed, basically. Basically each weight, so there were 8 at that weight, 10 at that weight, so if you add all of these up, which is what we've been doing, you get a total of 80, so that is the total number of cats weighed. So the next part says, on the grid opposite, draw a cumulative frequency graph for this information. So when we go back and look at our steps, point 2, so point 1 was add a cumulative frequency column to your table, which we've done, we've filled that in. Point 2 was plot at the end point of each section. So basically that means what you're plotting is you're plotting these cumulative frequencies against the end point, so against these points here, the end point in each section. So if we have a go at that, and point 3 was start from 0, so we start from 0. Then we have at the end of this group, so 0 to 1, so 1, we have 8 cats. So we go to 1 and then plot the 8. Then at the end of this column we have 2, and this now has 18. You plot the cumulative frequency, not the frequency. So at 2, now up to 18. Then look at this one, so the end point is 3, and you're going to have 39. 3, 39. End point of this is 4 and 58, so 4 and 58. 5 and 71, 5 and 71. And the end point of this is 6, and then total 80. And then the third point was start from 0, which is here, and then the fourth point was draw a smooth curve sort of joining them up, and this can be quite stressful and require a lot of rubbing out. I'm going to go straight for it with pen and hope it looks okay. So there we have your cumulative frequency graph. Because you keep adding things, it never goes down because you keep adding, so it's always going to keep going up and up and up. So the important points here, the thing to do is make a cumulative frequency column where you just add them up, and also plot at the end of each section. So here it says the frequency table shows the speed of 100 cars, and it gives it to you there. And then it says on the grid, plot a cumulative frequency graph for this information. So we know that following step 1, add a cumulative frequency column to the table, so we need to put cumulative frequency here. And then we just keep adding up these columns. So the first one has 6. Then the second one has 6 plus 17, which gives 23. And then this one has 23 plus 29, which is 52. And then this one has 52 plus 25. This one has 20 plus 77. And then the final one has 97 plus 3, which gives you 100. And that is going to be your total number of cars. And it did say 100 cars, so yeah, we've got them all. Step 2, plot at the end of each section. So we need to plot all these points, but you do it at the end point, so at the end of each of these. There, so at 20 we're going to plot 6. So 20, and we have there. At 40 we're going to plot the cumulative frequency 23. At 60 we're going to plot 52. At 80 we're going to plot 77. At 100 we're going to plot 97. And at 120 we're going to plot 100. And now part 3 said start from 0, and then part 4 was join all the points with a smooth curve. So there we have our cumulative frequency graph. This part B now says find an estimate for the number of cars travelling over 90. So this is one of the points where you can find the median, interquartile range, or you can find estimate numbers more or less than a value. So this is estimating numbers more or less than the value. Find the estimate of cars travelling over 90 kilometres per hour. So let's find 90 kilometres per hour and go up and see what our graph is telling us. So if we go along from that point, we get a value of 86. The cumulative frequency is 86, but that 86 is telling us the less than. So it's saying that all the cars less than, these ones, there would be 86 of them going less than 90. We're asked for over 90, and we know there are 100 in total, so we do 100 minus 86, and that gives us that 14 cars were going over 90 kilometres per hour. On this one, it's not asked you this, but I'm going to show you how to find the median. So what you do for the median is you take this, there were 100 cars in total, so the middle one is going to be the 50th value because you do 100 divided by 2. So if we go to the 50th value, go along and see what our line is now telling us. And that's saying the median was 60 kilometres per hour. I'm going to go back to our first example we did just to show you how to do the median and the interquartile range. So what you do for this is you take the total number, which was 80, and then Q2 is going to be 80 divided by 2, so the middle point is going to be 80 divided by 2, which is 40, so this is going to be Q2, and then we go along to our line and see what we get. And you get 3.1 kilograms, and that would be the median. If you want the first quartile and the 3/4 quartiles to work out the interquartile range, which is, interquartile range is Q3 minus Q1. So you take the total, which in this case is 80, and for Q1 you multiply it by a quarter, and for Q3 you multiply it by 3/4. So 80 multiplied by a quarter is 20, so this is going to be Q1. First quartile, saying 2.1 kg, and if we do 80 multiplied by 3/4, the third quartile is going to be 60, it's going to be Q3, and that is 4.1 kilograms. So therefore, when we do the interquartile range, we do Q3 minus Q1, which we've worked out to be 4.1 Q3 minus Q1, which is 2.1, which gives us an answer of 2 kilograms for the interquartile range. So that's how you do those values there.